This is so exciting for me because I'm actually a stylist myself, not on the scale of yours, but this is like a bit of a pinch me moment to be able to chat to you about all the costumes and Pandora styles. So I feel like I loved the film, but I think for me, the costumes were just so fascinating for many reasons, the colours, the textures, everything about it.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so nice.
So I'd love to hear more about the process. I feel like we saw a bit of a glimpse beforehand, the film, of the stunts and how everything's done, but I'd love to hear the process of costume.
The costume process on a film like this is so unique. I mean, I don't think that I've heard of anything that works the way we do. And it's really a marrying of two incredible worlds. It's the world of making things with your hands. I have an incredible workshop of people, mostly at What a Workshop in New Zealand. And we get together and we make, as the costumes are being designed, we're also at the same time doing a lot of sampling to say, like, how are you going to make that? You can make it out of anything. Pandora is a big, wide world. And after we do all that, and that's my comfort zone. I'm used to making clothes. But then to remake everything in the digital world is yet another challenge. So I have to get those designers and artists to understand what I want. So it's been a very, very close collaboration between kind of old school and new school.
Yeah, because that's what I was wondering, because for me personally, if I was styling a model or a talent, once the person puts on the outfit, that's almost when it comes alive. And I guess for the viewers, sometimes you order something online maybe, and when it arrives, it doesn't look how you envision. So what complications or challenges were there?
Oh, that's such a good question. It is an unusual, it's just exactly what you say, right? Which is when you just usually... And for the most part, when you design a costume or you dress someone, that's it, right? They go out, they do their thing. Even on a live action movie, you sort of say, this is what you're going to wear, and then you see how the performance goes. But on a film like this, as you watch the performance develop, you have the chance and there's time to go back in and say, oh my goodness, how about if we change the color, change the shape? And that really did happen with the character, Una Chaplin's character of Varong, where as she started to become alive in the performance, we knew that the costumes needed to be more. So she went from having basically one costume to having 7. And it was really due to watching her performance and being able to evolve the design over time. So that's really a gift in films like this.
And that's another point. I found the character building through costume, even the different clans. How do you decide on what the clans, give them a different almost feel, yet all grounded in the same world?
Yeah, the characters, different clans are so uniquely different from each other and yet tied together with a lot of the same rules. We know that on Pandora, we have sort of a Pandoran rule book, which is the materials you can and can't use. The fact that all of these people, these indigenous clans of people, make their own garments. So some can be more elaborate. The Mekaina people, the ocean clan that we've had for 2 films now, they live in a beautiful environment. Their clothes are quite often more colorful and beautiful and intricate. And then you get to something like the Ash people, who live in this kind of horrible, desolate community, of people that are just desperate for anything, life, the sunlight, anything. Yeah. So they're building their costumes out of what they have in their environment. So it's very easy in a way to separate the clans, and yet you find the ways that they tie together.
I love the pop of orange as well, speaking about colour. Orange is one of my favourite colours, so as soon as that came out, I was really drawn to it and found myself thinking, how could I wear that on the high street or in my everyday life? So if there was a clan that you could bring to real life fashion, which one would it be?
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. I'd love to do the wind traders for real because they're very, very colorful. I'm not often a person who wears a lot of color myself, but I love the expression that you can give with color. And I think also with motion, what I've tried to do in the design of the garments is to create visual motion as well as a physical motion. So if you see something like Palak's cloak, it has an incredible just sort of graduated color, and the design of the swirls on the outside are meant to have you sort of take that journey with him. You see him kind of flying through the sky. So it's fun.
Was the red, I guess colour-wise, I think orange for me is very fun and happy. I guess was the red intentional with the Ash clan.
Yeah, the red is obviously, that really came from Jim, but I think it's very much the color of blood,
Yes.
right? So it's a pretty obvious go-to, and then you just use it in the simplest of ways or in a very specific ways. And for Varong, like she has that red that goes through her head and then down her body,
Yeah.
and it's again meant to draw your eye to the strength and her power.
I feel like fashion is slowly becoming fun again. I think we lost it for a little stage, especially on the high street. Do you think film has a lot to do with that? For example, when I was watching the film, I think it's Kate Winslet's character has this beautiful headpiece, and I was thinking I could see that at a festival or the beach clubs.
Yeah, I think it would be so fun to try to bring some sort of a little bit of frivolity back, perhaps, or maybe it's just that fancifulness. You know, we wear black, we wear somber colors. We don't, you know, what would be wrong today with sort of redesigning and making things with feathers? I mean, feathers are fantastic. They're so expressive, and I use a lot of feathers in the movie, and I think that would be a really fun thing.
Where did you find most of your inspiration from, and did it change from the first movie to the most recent?
Gosh, I think our inspiration comes from our real world, and when you start to we do a lot of research. And it's almost like you have to really deep dive into what people do, how people are, to take those concepts and take them to a fantasy world. Because we don't want to just make stuff up, right?
Yeah.
It has to be relatable. And in the research we did for indigenous peoples all around the world really led me to a lot of ideas, not specifically, but how they tied together. That you can find people's in completely opposite sides of our earth that have the same core things happening in their fashion.
Yeah.
So, you know, we tie our peoples together on Pandora in different ways. And then the ability you have to take each and every separate clan and sort of go off in a different direction. You know, more clothed, less clothes. It's a wild ride of creativity. It's an incredible fun.
Yeah, I can imagine it's so much fun. I feel like Pandora needs a fashion week. That would be everything.
If you could get them all to agree and show up at the same time.
Yeah, it might be a bit tricky.
And not have an argument or fight with each other.
Very true. And you've I guess like what you've just said, you're almost inventing fashion for a whole new world and whole new culture. Was there any moments where you thought, this is just absolutely crazy, or anything went wrong along the way, or was it quite smooth sailing?
It's always really difficult. I think one of the hardest things to do is to try to invent something new, right? But I was placed in an environment with Jim and with John Landau, our producer, who, you know, to express myself fully and to use a lot of the creativity of the people and the crew around me. So it takes a lot of people, you know, it takes a lot of brains together to come up with really good ideas, and I'm really the orchestrator of a lot of good ideas. So that's a tremendous amount of fun, and I think it's, you know, it's a lot of hard work. Making all the costumes is a lot of hard work, but I start to forget that they're never going to be live in the film,
which is crazy.
Yeah, which is crazy, but they look so live in the film, and when I look at the movies and I'm like, okay, they're blue and they're 9 feet tall, they look real to me, and they are real. So there's no separation. When I look at Jake, I see Sam, right?
Okay, yes.
When I look at Varong, I see Una. They're just one and the same. The performances are so balanced and so true that it's made it really easy. I mean, you just forget you're working in a completely different world.
Different world. And then how is it working with the cast on costume? Because I guess you're not dressing them every day.
Yeah.
So how is that a different experience to other films?
Yeah, it's very, very different when you're shooting performance capture. A lot of times the costumes aren't all the way designed when you're actually shooting the film in that portion of it. And actors react differently. Some of them are very, very invested in what they're wearing. Some of them come in later and have no idea, right? Or just not that involved. But for instance, Sigourney's she's such a beautiful person and has such a deep soul in her own self, that as Kiri, she would come up to my workshop and kind of wander around and pick things up and touch them. And I think it was just her way of kind of reaching the world in a physical sense. And since the costume department is one of the only ones that actually makes things that are exactly like they are in the movie, So it's a different kind of inroad, and I think Jim was really great about showing off some of my work to the actors so that they would get the idea, right? Because they don't get to see much until later.
Of course, and I think that must be such a strange experience because like we said, when sometimes I'll put someone in something and the way they transform once they're in the outfit, the way they move is almost what creates the character in a way. So you've got to be so ahead with everything in that aspect.
Yeah, it's really important. The communication is really important, and I think the communication on these films, a lot of it is verbal, right? You talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
You talk about the feelings of costumes a lot more than you might in a normal, live action film. So it opens up a whole new avenue, I think, for the actors as well as for me.
And is there a fact about the costumes or maybe a hidden fact that maybe only mega fans would spot?
I think mega fans would. I've said this a couple of times, so it's not going to be a secret for long. But one of my favorite characters, I think, Neytiri. I mean, she's just the center of the
Yes.
films for me. You know, I'm a mother, and you know her journey and all the things that she's gone through, and losing her son in film 2. And so you see, like, there's a couple of different items of his clothing that she wears in film 3. So it's a way for her to sort of carry forward and keep him close.
I love that. And I think I do that. I wear things that my granddad or grandma passed down to me, and I think that's so special to put that into the movie. I loved all of her pieces, and I think now it's actually inspired me to go a bit more bold with my jewellery, some of the pieces.
Oh, fantastic.
What is her favourite outfit from the movie for you?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I think I'm pretty attached now to her battle costume at the end. It was a journey to create it. You know, Jim and I worked on it for a long time, kind of different avenues. And when I finally got there, I'm really proud of that one. I really feel like it shows her strength and yet her kind of femininity. And that's one of the things I played with her character through all the movies. Really, is her masculine, feminine, which was really fun to explore because she's a fierce warrior, but she doesn't have to dress like that.
And I also found it fascinating. You was almost working with two worlds because you had the soldiers, the scientists, and I loved the fact that they was almost in everyday, not ordinary because they was in, but it felt more real, which almost elevated and made the, the wind trade, everyone else feel more elevated.
Yeah,
How was that?
That's an interesting question, and I don't get often asked that. The difference between the live action portion of the film and the sort of the creative Pandoran, because everyone wants to know about that. But the live action part, there's a lot to it that is supposed to be incredibly relatable to our world today, and that's for good reason, right? Because Jim he's not a huge fan of kind of science fiction clothing, and I think that gives you a distance rather than feeling like, I don't understand. That's a brand new camouflage they're wearing, but it's absolutely a uniform that we as humans in 2025 can relate to. Yes. So it sets up a kind of an entree. You're immediately comfortable in the world of the humans, which is really important to the narrative of the film.
What's the best bit of fashion advice you've ever been given?
Oh, my goodness. For me myself?
Yeah.
I think to just try to be yourself, right? It's good to sort of explore a little bit, but not to, in your everyday life, dress up.
Yes.
If you know what I mean.
Do you find the movie you're working on will change your style along the way? Do you start to wear pops of different style?
Oh, maybe only sometimes. Working on a period film like Titanic, and really investing into all the jewelry of the time and things like that was so fun. And you're like, oh, that's a pretty little thing. I think I could wear that. So you find things that can carry over from generation to decade to decade to decade. Not so much with Pandora. I'd love to start thinking about designing contemporary jewelry based on the film.
That would be amazing.
Yeah,
I went
so fun.
for slightly method dressing.
I love it.
I just thought I'd go all blue.
It's like the blue, the softness, the kind of motion you got going. It's great.
Probably need some costume jewellery.
No, you wouldn't want to overpower that.
Very true. So I wanted to play a game of green or red flag, Pandora edition.
Okay.
So if you agree with it, green flag, hate it, red flag.
Okay.
A costume who instantly tells you who a character is.
Oh, green.
Over accessorizing.
Ooh, red.
Add in
Unless you do it for a reason.
Very true.
Okay. There's always exceptions to red and green.
Yes, there is. There's maybe an amber. We can throw in an amber. Add in random trends even though they don't fit to the story.
Oh, no. Red.
Cast asking to keep a costume.
I'd love to say green, but production says red.
Yes. Last minute outfit changes.
Oh, red. I mean, could be green. Depends.
The drama. Outfit repeating on and off camera.
I think that's okay. I think that's a green.
Yeah, we're here for it now.
Yeah.
Outfits that technically are amazing but don't suit the actor or actress.
Absolutely red.
Copying the looks from the wind tracers for my summer wardrobe.
Definitely green.
Amazing.
Have fun.
Yes, definitely. You will see me in that. Thank you so much. This has
Thank
been
you. That was so fun.
So fun and so fascinating. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.